two teams out of the playoffs right now as we record this week 12. Which team has a better chance to get in? Detroit as an 8 seed or Kansas City as a 9 seed?
Ooh. Man, I tell you what, that is a great question. I'm not going to go against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. JT the Brick, the Hall of Famer, Rod Woodson. We're getting you ready for week 12 of the NFL schedule. And Rod, last week we were talking about how it was wide open, and now I'm looking at it here, and it seems like this is the week some teams are going to say, I'm taking control of our destiny. I'll start with the Rams.
Yeah.
They look to be that team where for the first couple of weeks we launched this podcast, we're like, I wonder what Matthew Stafford's going to do. Who's going to run the ball? Now, every week I watch them, they're getting better.
Offensively, we knew Puka was going to be that guy. Devontae Adams coming over, right? Williams, the running back. And we said, Matthew Stafford, where is he going to be? He's been in the league for such a long period of time. How is he going to play at a higher? Can he still play at that high level? I think he's exceeded my expectations of what he was going to play at for this team. Now, with that being said, offensively, I knew they were going to be decent. I didn't know they were going to be this good defensively. They're young, they're fast, they're physical. The linebackers can get after it. The secondary solid. This is a really good team. Is it the best team? Is it the best complete team in the NFC? It could be. I know Philly is still winning games. They're winning ugly. They don't look like they did last year. It's hard to do that year in and year out and be one of the best teams in the National Football League, but they still are playing really good football. They're playing it well enough to win. With that being said, that will be a really good NFC Championship game. Be it in LA, be it in Philly, two teams that got two physical defenses and solid running game, solid quarterback play, good receivers. That will be a fun game to watch.
One thing I've been dying to ask you this week about Stafford and how much you care about your Hall of Fame brothers. A lot of times, quarterbacks at the end of their career, near the end, are trying to get into the Hall of Fame. Eli, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers. There's a whole bunch of guys looking to get a jacket like you.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson's the best example, right?
Yeah.
He's right there. He's got enough for easily consideration, but then here comes the drop-off. Stafford's the example of the other way. He's already in. He's a Hall of Famer. The stats are way in Canton, Ohio, and he's peeking through that.
Right.
How hard is that to do?
It is hard to do. It's hard. I mean, to play at your highest level consistently in the National Football League is tough to do. With that being said, I'm not a real fan of stats when it comes to the Hall. I am a fan of, were you first team All-Pro? Were you second team All-Pro? Was he 40% of your career, 50% of your career, 30% of your career? You have to be one of the best players consistently at your position to be in Canton. If you have not been in that position, if you have not had those honors, I don't care how many yards you got, you shouldn't be there. Now, with that being said, I think he is. Mm-hmm. He is one of those players that he has played lights out football throughout his career. He has been one of the first and second team All-Pro, throughout a percentage of his career. So yes, and he's playing. What I love about it, though, more than anything, is that when we look at the birth certificates of players nowadays, you got to be young to be in the National Football League. You got to be really, 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 really good to be an older player to stay in this league. And he is playing at the highest level right now.
And he took a lot of hits in his whole career. He got beat up in Detroit.
He did.
He got beat up.
He did.
I thought he's the classic example of a guy who had a lot of tread off the tire and didn't have much left. But I guess living in L.A., living in the sunshine.
Yeah, he's on the beach. Got good. A Speedo on probably. Sun shining and sun tanning.
Yeah, he's got it good. Great segue to another first ballot Hall of Famer still playing, Myles Garrett. I anchor the Raiders broadcast with our Hall of Famer Eric Allen. Myles Garrett's coming in. He is on a heater. I mean, he is about as hot. We're talking about a Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White type of season, and he's got a lot of games left. You cover him with the work you do with the Ravens. Why is he so good this year?
I tell you what, he might break the single-season sack record.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing. Listen, Lamar Jackson is the most elusive quarterback in the history of football being back there in today's game, by far. He sacked him 4 times. Like that. I mean, Lamar couldn't get away. This guy is so big, but he's agile. He's athletic. He can bend. He can turn. And he has a motor. Man, when you have all those qualities, I mean, that's the reason he is who he is. And he's been so dominant. And he's helped his defense throughout this year. I mean, the team itself is not that good, but the defense is solid. And it starts with him. When he's having a great game, it is hard to play against that defense.
Well, that brings me to the biggest topic in all of sports radio, not the NFL this week. Shedeur Sanders gets his first start at Allegiant Stadium against the Raiders, starting against a 2-win Raider team, 2-win team for Shedeur. Yeah. I'm a fan. I really thought that he got cheated in the draft. He didn't have to go in the first round. I thought his grade was second round, no later than mid to late second round. He went in the 5th. Thought a lot went into that. A lot of GMs got scared. Some teams didn't need him, but everybody should have used the Shedeur in the 3rd or 4th round. Now you just saw him play, and I'm asking you, coming into Vegas, is this the perfect launch opportunity for him to go against a struggling Raiders team, even though the Raiders have Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham to scheme him up?
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, he was put in a tough situation, right? But what I would say to this with Shedeur, make all the people who didn't believe in you wrong. He has a great opportunity, right? So, but that is, now you have to be a pro's pro all the time, on the field, off the field, in front of the camera, behind the camera, be a leader. And he's done that. So his first step this week is he's named a starter. He's get to go against the Raiders. The Raiders, they got some pass rushers. Mm-hmm. So can he go out there, play within the system, play within the framework? Listen, I believe that he should have been drafted before Gabriel. I do believe that. Now you got to go out there and prove everybody wrong. Just go play within the scheme work. You got a really good running game. You got some good tight ends. You got a couple good receivers. Throw him the football, get him in space, let him go make plays. Can they beat the Raiders? Yes, they can beat the Raiders, but they do struggle scoring points too. You got the offense. Can this be a 3-0 game like they had a couple years ago? It might be.
Geno's really struggling.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I've said this before. I mean, Geno was brought to the Raiders for all the right reasons. It was either going to be Geno, Sam Darnold. There were a couple of players. Geno at one point had 4,300 yards, 30-plus touchdowns, 70% completion. Yeah. But most importantly, he played for Pete Carroll, and Pete knew him. Why do you believe he's regressed, or at least not playing to the best of his ability?
You know, sometimes in somebody's career, when you look in the mirror, you're guessing, you're second guessing what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Am I doing this the right thing? How can I get better? And he's been in the league for quite a long time. He knows what good football looks like. He knows he's not playing his best football. How to get that to change for him is to, listen, shake all that other stuff off. All that nonsense, all the stuff that you hear, don't read the papers anymore. Don't watch TV anymore. It'd be about you and your brothers. Everybody who plays for the Raiders, that's who you guys play for. That's it. And if he can do that, he can get it back because they need him to play at his best to win football games. If he doesn't play at his best, if he does not do that, this team, the Raider team, can't be the complete team that they want it to be.
Aaron Rodgers got hurt, left wrist. We'll see what happens with him going forward. I want to ask a 2-part question. With the Ravens and the Steelers, as you said, you told us they were about to go on a run. The Ravens have. I think they have the ability to win 6 or 7 in a row on this run. But the Steelers, their schedule coming up is really rough, and Aaron Rodgers can play through this injury. As a Hall of Fame safety and corner, if you knew that Aaron Rodgers had this type of injury, what would you be doing if you were scheming him up?
If players don't want to hurt guys, right? I mean, you're not trying to go out there and intentionally hurt somebody. But if you know he's a little nicked up with that arm, do you try to slap the arm a little bit? Do you go after the arm a little bit? I don't know if they have to do that. But what I would say about the Steelers overall, like, Aaron Rodgers can throw the football. He wanted to go back in last week, and they told him, just, okay, relax. They need you for the rest of the year. So they do need the best version of Aaron Rodgers. The way I think you scheme Aaron is that you give him a lot of different looks. You don't play man and press. That's the easiest thing for a quarterback to see. It's easier to throw a fade ball, throw it from the slot, from the outside. That's the easiest route. So I think a lot of different hats, give him a lot of different simulations, like you're going to bring some pressure, sometimes bring pressure, sometimes back out. Obviously, he's not the same runner he used to be. But with that being said, they got some weapons, but you have to make him see the hats. Make him hold on to the ball a little bit more than he wants to. He does at times will throw the ball away because he doesn't want to take those hits. I mean, as an older player, I mean, even though I played on the defensive side, I didn't want to lay out the same hits that I used to do when I was younger, because I was like, okay, if I hit myself in the head too many times, I'm going to start getting a little dizzy. I might get a little concussion, and that's one thing I don't want to as I get older.
One other thing I want to get to in the open here, wanted to ask you the noise we're hearing now with Philadelphia. A.J. Brown, we're hearing questions in the marketplace about, I can't believe people are questioning Jalen Hurts. I mean, he is the perfect leader. What a leader at the podium. What a leader at practice. I often talk, he lifts weights with the offensive line. The tush-push is unstoppable. Now we're hearing some light chirping. Maybe he's not running this offense efficiently enough. Is that okay now because they're a playoff team and they're not peaking yet, and that's good because they're the reigning champs. They need to peak during the playoffs.
Yeah, listen, they're not playing great football, but they're winning. That's what matters. I think we lose sight of everybody. Think about last year. Last year, Barkley, 100-some odd yards every game rushing, right? Derrick Henry, the same thing. They're both averaging in the 60s, somewhere in that area. It's hard to play at the highest level every single year, every single game. They're winning ugly. That's a sign to me. That's a sign of a good football team. When you don't play your best football, and it's going to come. Because remember, even last year we were saying, what is going on with Philly? And they went on a run. And they looked really good doing it. Now, Barkley was playing well within that whole scheme, that whole time frame. But with that being said, they're not playing great. They're going to have a run. They're going to have a stretch where it is all going to click. And when it does, they're going to play that much better. They're going to win the games that much further. It won't be one scores anymore. It's going to be by 15, by 20.
When we come back on Laying the Wood, Rod will tell you about Kansas City. They lost to Denver. Do they have to run the table? They'll have to run the table if they want to win the division, but is the wild card in jeopardy for the Kansas City Chiefs? We'll get to that next on Laying the Wood. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Laying the Wood. Please subscribe, press the like button, and please share with your friends. We really appreciate everybody who comes back every week. So, Rod, let me give you Kansas City's schedule coming up here. Indianapolis at home, at Dallas, Houston at home, Chargers at home. So I look at Kansas City now. They got a month of football. They got to win 3 out of 4. I think they can. If they beat Indy at home, I think they're better than Dallas. But Houston at home, we'll get to the Chargers in a minute. Do you feel like the Chiefs right now have their back against the wall?
Absolutely. If they don't win this week, they're in a wild card spot. Even if you win out, you still might be a wild card. But if you lose this week to Indy, you're definitely in a wild card spot with needing help to get in.
Needing help. Yeah.
If you win out, you can get into the wild card spot with no help. But if you lose any of these, And this is what happens when you don't play great football. When you're talking to Chiefs, when you're talking to Ravens, you put yourself in a place where you don't have a lot of wiggle room anymore. So you have to go out there and play your best football. And they're playing against the Colts, and everybody's waiting for the Colts to fall off the cliff, and they haven't yet, right? So they're still playing good football. And then you're going to play inside of your division. Dallas can score against any defense in the National Football League, and they've done that so far this year for the most part. So you can't be surprised I wouldn't be surprised if they lost one or two of these games, just for the fact there's something missing this year from the Chiefs. And listen, they've been so good for so long, we just expect they're going to come into the year, and because you got Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, that they're going to come out there and play really good football. It's hard to do every year, and it's hard to do to put that upon your shoulders week in and week out. I don't know if they're going to make the postseason this year, just for the fact. And I think it'll be every other team will be like, whew, we don't have to mess with these, especially in the AFC. They don't have to mess with Kansas City once the postseason starts.
They don't have the Super Bowl run of the Patriots and the Brady prime, but they have the AFC Championship run. Mahomes in the AFC Championship every year.
Every year.
And I like what you said about them. This is an important game because if they lose this game and the Colts go on to win the division, that's one thing. But Jacksonville, the rest of those wild card teams, Denver looks like they're going to win the division.
Yep.
The Chargers are ahead of Kansas City in the wild card. I love what you said about their race in the wild card. Denver's 9-2. How are they doing it? These games, every week I sit down with you and we talk about them not playing for 3 quarters. Then in the 4th quarter, Bo Nix wakes up, they get a strip sack, they get a turnover, and they win the game by a field goal.
But see what you just said. They get a strip sack. Their defense can play.
Yeah, they're
Their
really
defense
good.
is a solid defense. They got a young, good defense, kind of like the Rams in the NFC. They got a good young defense that keeps them in games. Now, obviously, I think the offense for the Rams is way better than the Denver Broncos, but Bo Nix is still young. He's still learning. He's still figuring out how to play in the National Football League. But that team is a solid team. Look, they got a really good coach, right? So they got a good coach. They got a good young quarterback, but they got a solid defense that gets after everybody that they play against. And they don't have to score a lot of points to win football games.
Chargers have 7 wins. You only need 10.
Yep.
Only. You need 10 to get into the playoffs. The Chargers coming up here, and their schedule is really interesting to me because the Chargers and what just happened in Jacksonville was shocking to me because they didn't show up. They lost 35-6.
Yeah.
They get Vegas at home in a week. Then they play Philly. Listen to this for the Chargers. Philly at home, at Kansas City, at Dallas, Houston, at Denver. Ooh. They don't have their 2 best tackles. So when you have your left tackle and right tackle out, Slater and Alt, can they survive? They only need to win 3 of those games to get in. But Rod, I can actually look at this and say, at Denver could be a loss. Yep. Houston could be a loss. At Kansas City, a loss. Philly, definitely a loss. So if they beat the Raiders and Dallas, that'll get them to 9 wins. And they'll just have to win 1 more out of those 3. It's going to be close.
I mean, and listen, their defense at times plays really well. And then they've been inconsistent, like they were in Jacksonville. They were very inconsistent in Jacksonville. So which defense you're going to get? I mean, at the end of the day, when I'm looking at this, and I know I'm a defensive-minded guy, your offense is going to score points, but your offense needs turnovers from your defense sometimes to get short fields to make it a little bit easier to move down the field to score points. Okay. They've been very inconsistent doing that consistently through the year, talking about the Chargers defense. You can't be surprised if they lose several of those games because it is going to be a tough test. Everybody has put themselves, especially when you talk about Houston, they put themselves in a bad spot, right? They got to win they got to win a lot of their games coming up to get into the postseason. A lot of these teams that we just named off, they got to win. They got to play their best football in the second half of the year because they put themselves in bad position the way they played in the first half of the year.
Good way of wrapping that up. When we come back, we're going to have Rod take us to school. I've been fascinated on the play of young defensive backs. I don't see many of them making plays until their third or fourth year. I want Rod to get into his rookie year all the way through his Hall of Fame career. And why is it taking these defensive backs so long to adapt? We'll get to that next on Laying the Wood. Welcome back, everybody, as we continue on Laying the Wood. JT, Hall of Famer Rod Woodson. Before we get into some of these other topics, one of the things I was texting you about this week is I'm seeing a lot of young corners getting burned. Yeah. And no one can even tell me who are the first four corners taken in the draft this year. You know the quarterbacks, you know the edge rushers, but the problem I'm seeing with corners is they come in and they're either undersized and they just can't handle the size of these bigger receivers. They didn't see players like that in college. As a former coach and one of the greats, what would you do to try to get the corner position up to speed? What issues are you seeing around the league?
Yeah, I think there's two different ways when you look at coaching corners in the National Football League. The old school way is you played on the low hip. So receivers going up the left sideline and the corners down here. The new school way, which I think is the smartest way, is that receiver makes that same outside release, but instead of being here, you're in the upfield shoulder. Now you're in phase. So you can now pin him against the sideline, you can turn him look. Because anytime a quarterback sees the back of a defender, his receiver, really, especially the good ones, the good quarterbacks in the league, when they see the back of the defender, they say that receiver is open because you can't see the ball unless they got eyes behind the back of their heads for somewhere along the line. They can't see the ball. So how many times have you seen the ball being thrown where defenders are back here and you know what DB coaches tell you? Play through his hands. What? I can't see the ball. I do. And sometimes they do make a play because they are good athletes. But with that being said, if you're on an upfield shoulder and you're in phase and you're pinning him, you can turn your head. You can make more plays on the ball. Now, can they throw the back shoulder fade? That will be the question. Yes, they can throw the back shoulder fade. That's a 15-yard play. I'd rather give up a 15-yarder and fight my way to the ground with the ball. And if the ball comes out, it's incomplete, than giving up a 35-yarder.
Right.
I mean, it's just the littlest things. I mean, it's deeper than that. That's just a portion of it. I mean, my mindset goes when you ask me that question. That's just the easiest thing to relate to you. But there's so many more things of body position of where you should be. How, like if you're a nickel, if I'm 5 yard removed from the end line of scrimmage, they're going to tell you to play outside shade to your nearest help. Well, my nearest help sometimes can be the inside linebacker, but he's about 12 to 13 yards away from me. You can hit a slant in there, you know?
Yeah.
I would slide, when I played nickel, I slid back inside. Once my guy got removed too far, I slid back inside and said, if you want to run a slant, you got to run that through my body.
One of the biggest changes I've seen in the media is a guy like you at the end of your career, middle of your career, can go from corner to safety and still be great. Charles Woodson did it. Right. Jalen Ramsey doing it now.
Doing it, yep.
Okay, but we're talking about these slot corners and these dime corners and nickel corners. I want that to be my guy who is my third or fourth corner, and I'm going to put him there. Now I'm starting to hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, you need a really good starting slot corner. And I want my corner to be able to do bump and run first. I want to know that my best corner can guard someone and put their hands on them and run with them. I'm seeing guys now giving 10-yard cushions. They're new in the league. They're giving 5 to 10 yards because they can't do bump and run, Rod.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I believe defensive backs should do a lot of different things.
Okay.
If you only do one thing and you only do one thing, so if I'm only pressed when I'm playing man-to-man and every quarterback knows it, they know what I'm doing. So I should press bail. I should play off, then go up. I should reroute. So, I mean, the one thing I don't see enough of in the National Football League in zones, especially when you have your nickels and your curl flat players, not rerouting too. That drives me crazy. Reroute your players because that throws off the timing of the passing route. Passing routes, even though they're in shotgun, right, is it going to be a one hitch or two hitch? Two hitch is a deep ball. A one hitch is a little bit quicker, right? No hitch it's a three-step, it's a slant, right? Somewhere in that area. If you see the back of the quarterback, that's a true play pass shot down the field. I've never seen a quarterback play pass, you see the back of his numbers, and then he runs a screen. It's very rare.
So how can you play in the NFL and get to the highest level out of college if you can't play press corner really well? Can you even play in the league if you can't press?
Yeah, because there's different teams. So think of Philly. Philly doesn't play a lot of man, but Mitchell can play it, right? He's over there. He can. The other guy, they should can roll coverages. You can do different things to help your players. But I always believe in this. I believe if a guy has to be able to do multiple things, a carpenter who can make this table, right, he's going to learn throughout the years. And as he gets more tools, he put more tools on the tools belt. That's what a corner is. That's what a great player in every position is. As you keep learning the game, you're going to put more tools on your tool belt. And then when you need them in a game, you pull them out.
All right, so this is, I love asking you these historic questions. As a rookie or second-year player, what's the most memorable game you had against a legend? Which means the legend looked at you and said, oh, that's a young buck. Come here, I want that first-year guy, even though he's a great player on me. When you felt like you entered the league and said, I just stopped the future Hall of Fame or completely shut someone down. Who was that?
Yeah, I mean, I had some... I mean, remember, so I played safety in college. I played safety since I was 9 years old I ran my 40 at the combine. They said, you're going to play corner. So I had to learn how to play corner in the National Football League. I remember I don't know if it was my first or second year, I played against James Lofton. And I'm on the outside corner. I'm backpedaling. I don't know why I kept backpedaling, but James ran right by me. Ball goes in the air, touchdown. I come to the sideline. Tony Dungy looks at me and goes, son, what were you thinking? I go, I have no idea. I have no idea what I was thinking. But I kept learning, right? So you learn from your mistakes. You don't learn from doing things right. You learn from your mistakes. You don't be a repeat offender. And to me, did I ever have a standout game against a legend? I don't know if I did when I was younger. I took my lumps.
You took your lumps.
My first 3 years, I took my lumps, and I kept learning. And then when I went to my first Pro Bowl as a kick returner, I met Frank Minifield, Hanford Dixon, Albert Lewis. Those guys were all in the Pro Bowl as corners. And I'm like, well, what do you do when they're here? How can I, if they're running a dig on me, like, what can I do? And they're like, shoot, if they're running a dig on you, puts his shoulder in you, grab him underneath his near side armpit. I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. And the guy would lean in me, and I would grab him right here, snap his arm down, and you could see the receiver try to get away, and he'll go, oh, but they couldn't see anything. They just thought maybe it was a stumble. But it was me grabbing the inside armpit from learning from those guys. So, humbling yourself as an athlete and talking to the guys who have done it at a high level always makes everybody it makes a better team, but it makes you a better player.
Yeah, very humbling answer, but you didn't answer this one thing. Was there one receiver or tight end that you just had a wow moment? Not the game plan, but you just looked at and said, man, I made it. I'm going up against him. Because when you're at the Hall of Fame, I see you in Canton.
I'm trying to think a game. It was probably, we were playing the Saints. And it was I think it was like my third or fourth year. I can't remember exactly where it was at. But I came out and had a pick off a tip, had a pick on a deep comeback. I was like, man, I'm feeling it. Like, I feel great right now. I can't remember the exact time frame of in my career, but it wasn't against one person. It was against the team in general. And I just had a game where no catches. I had 2 interceptions, 1 pick six, and I'm like, I was feeling it. That's when I was like, you know what? I can play this game. I can play this game at a high level.
Absolutely. When we come back, you're going to look at a game at the high level. It's our featured game of the week. We wrap it up. Rod will have a game. I'll have a game we're leaning on. Come back on Lay in the Wood. Wrapping it up on Lay in the Wood. This is where we get to the featured games, Rod. And I think this huge game for the Buccaneers at the Rams. Every time I turn on the TV, the Bucs are on the road in a big environment.
Right.
They're up in Buffalo. Now they're making them go out to L.A.
Yeah.
Rams are the hottest team, one of the hottest teams in all of football. If Baker could win this game, because we've been talking for the last 5 weeks, when's Mike Evans coming back? When's Godwin coming back? Baker's been playing man down all year, and the Rams are healthy. They're not turning it over. I don't see how the Bucs win this game, but Baker could be the X factor.
Yeah, they're a tough, gritty team because of the way Baker plays. Defensively, they've been inconsistent, but they've played solid football. To me, if Baker plays his best football and gives him a shot, man, that's a tough task going out there playing against an offense that can light it up and a defense that's been getting after everybody in the National Football League. I think that's a tough task, but if anybody has that grit, it's Baker Mayfield.
Let me give you a nugget game no one's talking about until after the weekend. Panthers, Niners. Panthers are 6-5.
Right.
Niners are 7-4. If the Panthers win, they're both 7-5, and they have the tiebreaker over the Niners in the NFC. And I thought the Niners, with their easy schedule, would have been right there with Seattle and the Rams. Not anymore. It's the Rams. I don't think the Niners, if they lose this game, they're not catching the Rams. Now they're looking at wild card tiebreakers.
Yeah, I would be. This is a big game, I believe, for the 49ers. Now, listen, Carolina has played better than I thought they were going to play, even though I did have Bryce Young as my comeback player of the year, so to speak, right?
You did.
I thought he was going to play better football, and he is. He's playing having a guy like McMillan to throw the ball to, I mean, a big physical receiver. They got some playmakers over there, okay, on the offensive side of defensive, playing solid football. Big game for them, though. The travel, cross country, and to play the 49ers in a big physical matchup. Obviously, the 49ers need this game. I think they need this game for their mindset to say, we still match up with the best teams in the league. And when you come in our house, you better play your best football, or you're not going to get victories.
Before we close this out, I always have my tablet in front of me. I'm looking at breaking news. The number one headline at ESPN.com, Bengals Burrow looks fantastic, full participant, second day in a row. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
They're 3-7.
Yeah.
I don't care how good he looks. You're at a point now where it's too early to shut him down. There's plenty of games left. But do you got to get him in this game? You got to move him up even though he looks good? You protect the player?
It's turf toe. I've never had turf toe. I've had knee issues and on all that stuff. Never had turf toe. So I'm not exactly sure how that recovery occurs. But I get his mindset, though. Right? He's an old school dude. Like, he wants to be there. He wants to play with his brothers. He wants to be on the field with his guys. And obviously, they look really good when he's out there, right? I mean, he has weapons. They can score a lot of points. So I would be a little concerned if it was an Achilles or an ACL, something of that nature, coming back for the first time. But turf toe, I'm not exactly sure. Can he hurt it any worse? Can he re-injure it? I'm not sure about that. I'm not a doctor, even though I do play one at night every now and then. But with that being said, I think that if he wants to come back and play and he feels and he's shown to the team and the coaches that he can go back there and move and still throw the football, let him play.
I'm going to wrap it up with this last question. I don't put you on the spot with the Ravens. You don't put me on the spot with the Raiders. I appreciate that, but we're going to have fun on this. Two teams out of the playoffs right now as we record this Week 12. Which team has a better chance to get in? Detroit as an 8 seed or Kansas City as a 9 seed?
Ooh. Man, I tell you what, that is a great question. I'm not going to go against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
You know, I know it hasn't looked great yet this year, but we know if he goes on a 4-game stretch, they still got him. They still got the best quarterback in football, right? Or one of the best quarterbacks in football. So I would say it would be Kansas City because I would have more trust in Patrick Mahomes, and I really like Jared Goff too, but I have more trust in Patrick Mahomes of getting his team turned around and putting those points on the board, hitting those open receivers that he's been missing by a foot and a half here and there, making those plays that he normally makes that we've seen the last several years.
For Rod Woodson, I'm JT the Brick. We really appreciate it. Please like, download, and share, and we'll see you next week on Lay in the Wood.